The moment I pushed the door open, my whole body froze in shock. Jackson, my husband, my love, my everything was kissing, cuddling and doing the unthinkable with Benita, my best friend. She was one friend that I trusted with my home. But she betrayed me. I stood there, looking like a mad woman. I was unable to move or breathe. My heart stopped. I almost fainted. At first, Jackson didn't see me. His eyes were closed as he was lost in ecstasy. But Benita saw me. She looked straight into my eyes and smiled. Yes, she actually smiled and continued enjoying my husband while I was standing there and watching. That smile broke me more than what I was seeing. She held Jackson tighter as if to mock me. When Jackson finally turned his eyes and saw me standing by the door, he was shocked. He quickly tried to stand up, but Benita dragged him back. I screamed so loudly that my voice echoed through the whole house. "Jackson, what is this? What are you doing?" I cried. My knees were weak. I felt like falling. Tears rushed down my eyes. Jackson jumped up and tried to cover himself. "Bella, I can explain," he said. "Explain what?" That he was sleeping with my best friend in my own house? I shouted, "Explain what? Jackson, in my room? In my own house?" I couldn't stop crying. The pain was too much for one heart to bear. Benita just sat up on the bed, covering her body with the bedsheet, pretending to be calm. "Bella, calm down," she said coldly. I looked at her in shock. "Calm down? Benita, you're sleeping with my husband." I screamed. "You came here to help me take care of my baby, not to take my husband," I said. She rolled her eyes and smiled again, that wicked smile that made me shake with anger. "You should have been taking care of him yourself," she said slowly. Jackson knelt down, holding his towel around his waist. "Bella, I'm sorry," he said quietly. "It was a mistake. Please forgive me." I couldn't believe my ears. A mistake? Sleeping with my best friend was a mistake? I looked at both of them and felt something inside me die. I remembered how Benita always admired my life. How she used to say, "Bella, you're lucky to marry a good man. They love their wives deeply." I didn't know she was secretly planning to taste that love herself. She was planning to snatch my husband. My husband is a very wealthy man. Benita wanted him. I shouted at Jackson again. "How could you do this to me after all we've been through? After I gave birth to your child? After the surgery and the pain?" He bowed his head in shame. But Benita wasn't done. She stood up boldly, dropped the bedsheet, and said, "Bella, stop acting like you're the victim here. You've been denying Jackson what he needs. You can't satisfy him. You think a man like him will stay without bedroom action for 3 months." My jaw dropped. She was talking like she had every right to sleep with my husband. "Benita, you are evil." I screamed. "You came to destroy my home. You pretended to care for me and my baby, but all this time, you were planning to destroy my marriage." She laughed softly and shook her head. "Bella, open your eyes," she said, walking closer to me. "You married a man you can't satisfy. You can't even touch him because of your surgery. I gave him what he needed." I slapped her with all the strength I had. She didn't even flinch. She just smiled again. Jackson tried to hold me. "Please, Bella, don't make it worse," he said weakly. I pushed him away. "Don't touch me," I shouted. "You disgust me." I turned to Benita again, still shaking. "Pack your things and leave my house right now," I screamed. But she didn't move. She folded her arms and looked at me with pride. "I'm not going anywhere, Bella," she said calmly. In fact, you might be the one to leave soon." Her tone was cold. There was no remorse in her eyes, only arrogance. Then she said the words that shattered my soul completely. "I'm already pregnant for Jackson," she said confidently. "Your husband is mine now, and there's nothing you can do about it. Come back, Jackson, let's continue what we were doing. I have always wanted to marry a rich man," she said. I felt my heart beating so wildly inside me. Pregnant? For my husband? In my own house? I stood there, weak and trembling, staring at the two people who had just destroyed everything I ever believed in. Benita only came to help me take care of my baby after I gave birth through CS, but now, she has snatched my husband and got pregnant for him. My friend has betrayed me. My husband failed me. But what can I do? I felt helpless and weak. I didn't say a word again. I just turned and left the room quietly. I managed to stay calm. When I got to my room, I lay on the bed and closed my eyes. I didn't want to cry. I didn't want to think. I just wanted to sleep and forget everything I saw. Somehow, sleep came. When I woke up later, it was midnight. I heard the door open. Jackson entered. He thought I was still asleep. He quietly lay beside me, breathing heavily. I said nothing. I just pretended to sleep. Early the next morning, he woke me up. I sat up and looked at him for a while. His eyes were full of guilt and fear. I could tell he hadn't slept all night. "Jackson," I said calmly, "there's no problem. I've already forgiven you." He looked at me as if I had just spoken another language. "What did you say?" he asked. "I said I've forgiven you," I said. He looked at me, confused and silent. I could see his lips trembling. I smiled lightly and stood up from the bed. He just sat there, watching me like a man waiting for a storm to start. That morning, I went into the kitchen early. I wanted to surprise him with breakfast. I made toast, eggs, and tea his favorite. I even hummed a song while cooking. When he walked into the dining room, I could feel his eyes on me. "Breakfast is ready," I said cheerfully. He stood by the door, silent. I laughed and pulled a chair for him. "Come and eat, my love," I said. But he didn't move. "You're not angry?" he asked slowly. "No, I'm not," I replied, smiling again. His face showed confusion mixed with fear. He finally sat down but didn't touch the food. I noticed he was afraid. "Why are you not eating?" I asked. He looked at me nervously. "I'm fine," he said. I could read his thoughts clearly. I laughed again. "You think I poisoned the food?" I asked him directly. No, I didn't say that," he replied quickly. I picked up a spoon, scooped a little from his plate, and tasted it in front of him. "You see? Come and eat. I didn't poison the food. I told you I've forgiven you," I said. He looked at me for a long time before taking a bite. "Bella, I don't understand you. You saw me sleeping with your friend yesterday, and yet you're still kind to me. Why?" he asked. "Because I won't allow the devil to destroy what God has joined together. Yes, you made a mistake, but I still love you. I won't let that woman come between us," I said. His face softened. He held my hand tightly. "You're a good woman, Bella. I don't deserve you." "Then don't lose me. Don't sleep with her again," I said. "I promise, I will never do it again," he said. After breakfast, the house was quiet. Jackson left for work. I felt peace inside me. I had cried enough the night before. I wasn't going to waste my tears anymore. My marriage was mine, and I wasn't ready to let any woman take it from me. Sometimes, forgiveness is not weakness, it's wisdom. I knew Benita was still in her room, pretending to be innocent, but I didn't care. I would face her differently now. She would never expect the woman she betrayed to still stand tall and smile. From my room, I heard her moving around. She didn't come out for breakfast. Maybe she was ashamed. Or maybe she was thinking about how to talk to me. I smiled quietly as I arranged the baby's clothes. Meanwhile, Benita was in her room pacing up and down. I didn't know what she was thinking then, but later, I found out everything. She was angry, confused, and bitter. She expected me to pack my things and leave the house. She thought my silence meant defeat. She thought she had won. But when she heard me laughing and talking with Jackson that morning, she almost went mad. "How can she still be smiling?" she said aloud, talking to herself. "How can she forgive him that easily?" She felt threatened by my peace. She remembered how she had boldly told me she was pregnant. She thought the confession would break me, but it didn't. She expected Jackson to fight me or for me to pack my things and leave him for her. But things turned out differently. I could hear her talking to herself in her room. I purposely went closer to the door to listen to her. "She's pretending. She wants to act strong. I will show her that she can't win this battle," she said. She didn't know that I was hearing everything she was saying in her room. I was standing at her door and eavesdropping. I heard everything. Her heart burned with jealousy and hatred. She couldn't stand my calmness anymore. She thought would leave my husband for her, but no way, I will stay. Even if my husband gets her pregnant again, I will stay. I will not leave my rich husband for her. I stayed close to her door so that I will hear her next plan. I don't want to be caught unawares. I could still hear her voice. She was not even talking slowly, she was shouting, thinking the door would stop her voice from being heard. "Now I'm going to end her. If she will not move out, I will poison her. She will die and I will take her home and her husband," she said. Thank God that I heard her. Thank God that I now know that my friend wants to poison me and take over my husband. But before she will end me, I will end her first. When I found out that Benita wanted to kill me, my whole body went cold. It felt like something died inside me. I couldn't believe this was the same friend I had trusted with my life. But I was also glad I now know who she truly is. I wiped my tears and made a promise to myself that she would never succeed. I told myself that no one could harm me under my own roof. I wasn't going to fight her with words or fists. I would fight her with wisdom, quietly and smartly. The next morning, I called a technician secretly. I told Jackson I wanted to fix some light fittings, so he wouldn't suspect anything. When the technician came, I took him around the house and told him what I wanted. He was shocked when I said I wanted hidden cameras installed in every room, even the kitchen. "Madam, are you sure?" he asked. "Yes. Just do it neatly. I don't want anyone to see them," I said. He nodded and got to work. By evening, everything was ready. I felt safer and ready. The cameras were very small, hidden like magic. You could never know they were there unless you were told. I also told the man to install audio recording devices inside Benita's room. I wanted to hear everything she said. Every word, every move. I wanted to know what she was thinking. The technician connected everything to my phone. From that moment, I could see and hear everything that happened in my house, even when I wasn't there. It gave me peace. That night, I lay on my bed, watching the cameras. I could see Benita pacing up and down in her room, talking to herself. "She thinks she's smart," she said angrily. "But she doesn't know who she's dealing with," she said. I heard her through the audio. I smiled to myself. I wanted to laugh out loud, but I kept quiet. "Benita, you are the one who doesn't know who you're dealing with," I said in my heart. I knew she would try something, and I was ready. I promised myself that the day she tried anything again, I would expose her completely. Days passed. Benita stopped talking to me. She no longer helped with my baby or with anything around the house. I didn't care. My CS wound had healed. I was strong again. I could do everything myself. Jackson noticed the tension but didn't say much. I could see he was ashamed whenever Benita passed. I didn't even bother mentioning her name to him. I acted as if she didn't exist. I focused on my baby and my husband. But deep inside I was waiting for her to make her final mistake. Then one night, it happened. I was in my room, breastfeeding my baby when I heard a sound from the camera feed on my phone. I opened it and saw Benita dragging Jackson into her room. I was shocked. "Come on, Jackson," she said, holding him tightly. "You know you want me." Jackson looked confused and scared. I was hearing everything they were saying. "Benita, stop this," my husband said. "Please, don't do this again." But she kept pulling him. "I'm pregnant for you. You can't reject me now," she shouted. Jackson pushed her hand away and ran out. I watched everything, my blood boiling, but I was calm. I saw her sit on the floor, crying and talking to herself again. I was shocked that she tried to sleep with my husband again. That was the last straw for me. The next morning, I dressed up neatly and went straight to her room. She was sitting on her bed pretending. "Benita, you have to leave my house today," I said. She looked up sharply, pretending to be surprised. "Leave? Why?" "After everything that happened, you're still trying to sleep with my husband. You've crossed every line. You're not my friend anymore. You're a danger to my home. Pack your things and go," I said. She stood up slowly with her eyes full of anger. "I'm not going anywhere," she said coldly. I folded my arms and looked at her. "You are going. This house belongs to me and my husband. You have no right to stay here," I said. She smiled wickedly, and I knew something terrible was coming. "This is my house too. I'm pregnant for Jackson. He must marry me." I decided to tell my husband everything Benita was planning. I told him I monitored my friend through cameras and audio recording devices. I could now trust my husband because he has changed after realizing his mistakes. That night, he promised me to take drastic action. The next day, the morning started quietly. I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when I heard Jackson's voice echoing through the living room. His tone was angry and sharp. I rushed out immediately, wiping my hands on my apron. What I saw made me stop halfway. Jackson was standing in front of Benita, pointing his finger at her. "You have overstayed your welcome, Benita. You came to destroy my home, but it will not work," my husband said. My heart lifted. For the first time, my husband was defending me, not making excuses. I stood aside and watched in silence. Benita folded her arms and looked at him boldly. "I'm not going anywhere, Jackson. You know I'm pregnant for you," she said. My husband shook his head angrily. "Pregnant for me? Stop lying, Benita. You've done enough damage already. You brought confusion into my family, and I won't allow it anymore." I felt joy rush through me. I didn't even care if the neighbors heard. For once, the truth was standing tall in my living room. I wanted her to see that her evil plans were falling apart. Without another word, Jackson turned around and stormed into Benita's room. I followed quietly behind him. He started packing her clothes into a bag without mercy. "Jackson, stop. You can't do this to me," Benita said. But he didn't listen. You will leave this house today, Benita. You brought shame to my family. I can't let you stay here another night. My husband said. I stood at the door, watching, smiling inside my heart. Every folded dress, every shoe he threw out felt like freedom being restored to my home. Benita ran to the sitting room, crying and shouting. You're humiliating me, Jackson. I'm pregnant for you, she said. Jackson followed her, holding the last bag. Then let's go and confirm it at the hospital. If you're truly pregnant, I will take responsibility. But I won't believe anything from your mouth until I see a test result, he said. I couldn't help but smile. Finally, he was speaking like the man I married. Fine, take me to any hospital you want. You will see the truth, Benita said. Jackson agreed. Good. We're leaving right now, he said. I stood there, holding my baby in my arms, feeling both peace and excitement. This was the moment I have been waiting for. I have always suspected that her pregnancy was a lie, a trap to hold my husband down. She never showed any symptoms. No nausea, no weakness, nothing. I just wanted the truth to come out once and for all. I'll come with you, I said calmly. Jackson looked at me, surprised, then agreed. Okay, let's all go together, he said. Benita gave me one angry look and turned away. A few minutes later, we all entered the car. The drive to the hospital was quiet. Nobody spoke. Benita sat at the back seat beside me, looking out the window and pretending to be calm. But I could see her hands trembling. Jackson drove silently. I sat there, praying in my heart that the truth would be revealed that day. I wanted her mask to fall off completely. When we arrived at the hospital, Jackson parked and came out first. Let's go, he said quietly. Benita followed, pretending to be brave. Inside the hospital, the air felt cold. The nurse at the reception greeted us politely. Jackson did the talking. Please, we need a pregnancy test for her, he said, pointing at Benita. The nurse nodded and called a lab technician. A young man in a white coat came out and smiled. No problem. Please, madam, follow me. Benita looked at Jackson for a moment, then followed the man reluctantly. Jackson and I sat in the waiting area. I looked at my husband and smiled. Today the truth will speak, I said. He agreed quietly. After a few minutes, the lab technician returned with a small transparent container. He placed it on the table and said, "We've taken her sample." Benita came out behind him. I could tell she was nervous. Jackson folded his arms and looked at her. The lab technician smiled politely and said, "You have to wait a few minutes for the result to be out." I sat quietly in the waiting area of the hospital. I was pretending to scroll through my phone, but my mind was not calm. I didn't trust Benita one bit. I knew her too well to think she would allow the truth to come out easily. She has been inside the laboratory with the technician for too long. Something in me told me that she was planning something evil again. My heart was not at rest, but I didn't want Jackson to suspect anything. I needed to confirm my fears before doing anything drastic. After waiting for about 10 minutes, I stood up. "I want to use the restroom," I told Jackson. He nodded without looking up. His eyes were fixed on the lab door, probably wondering when the result of the test will be out. As I walked away, I made sure my steps were calm, but inside I was boiling. I wasn't going to the restroom. I just needed to see what was going on in that laboratory. Something didn't feel right, and I had learned never to ignore my instincts, especially when it came to Benita. I found a narrow passage that led to the back of the hospital. It was quiet and empty. I tiptoed carefully until I saw a half-open door with a sign that said laboratory. I peeped through the small space, and what I saw confirmed my fear. The lab technician was sitting at his desk, already writing something on the result paper. But that wasn't all. I saw a thick bundle of money beside him. I froze. My suspicion was right. Benita has bribed him to lie that she was pregnant. The man raised his head suddenly and saw me standing at the door. He looked shocked. "Madam, I told you people to wait, that I'm coming with the result," he said. He was trying to hide the money under some papers. But it was too late. I have already seen everything. I stepped into the room slowly and closed the door behind me. Don't even try to deny it. I saw the money. Benita has bribed you, right? How much did she give you to lie? I asked. The man was silent. He looked scared. He opened his mouth, closed it again. "Madam, please don't expose me," he said. "I will expose you. You've been paid to lie. Just tell me the truth. How much did she give you?" I asked. The man looked around as if to make sure no one was listening. Then he sighed deeply. "Madam, she said I should write that she's pregnant even though she is not. She begged me and said she would give me 150,000 naira. I didn't want to do it, but she started crying and said her life depends on it," he said. I folded my arms and watched him. "So you accepted?" I asked. He nodded shamefully. I wasn't surprised. Benita could go any length to get what she wanted. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "All right, I'll make you an offer. Whatever she gave you, I'll double it if you tell the truth and write the correct result." "You will double it?" he asked. "Yes. I will give you the money right now," I said. The man didn't hesitate. He brought out his phone and showed me his account number. I opened my banking app immediately and transferred 300,000 naira to him. "Check your phone," I said. He smiled as the alert entered. Without wasting time, he tore the previous result sheet and brought out a new one. "I'll write the real result now," he said. I watched him carefully as he wrote. After a few minutes, he raised his head. "Madam, here it is," he said. I looked at it and smiled. It was clearly written that Benita was not pregnant. I felt relief all over me. Finally, the truth would come out. "Thank you. But remember, if you ever tell her about this, I will know, and I won't take it lightly." The man nodded quickly. I smiled and adjusted my bag. "I can't wait to see the shock on her face when she finds out I'm smarter than her," I said quietly to myself. The technician looked at me and said, "Madam, please don't tell anyone I was involved." "Don't worry. Your secret is safe," I said. I picked up the result and walked to the door. I couldn't wait to watch Benita's lies crumble in front of everyone. This time, she wouldn't escape. As I stepped out of the laboratory, I saw Benita walking towards the waiting area, smiling like a queen. She didn't know her little plan has already failed. "Where have you been?" she asked, pretending to be calm. "I went to the restroom," I said, returning her fake smile. The technician came out a few minutes later, holding the brown envelope that contained the test result. He smiled politely. "The result is ready," he said. "You can all see it together." I looked at Benita's face. She was smiling widely, confident that her plan has worked. The truth was finally about to come out. And this time, no amount of lies or tricks would save Benita. Jackson collected the brown envelope from the lab technician and opened it quietly. The entire room went silent. My heart was calm because I already knew what was inside. Benita, on the other hand, was smiling confidently, folding her arms as if she was sure of her lies. Jackson unfolded the paper and began to read out loud. "Pregnancy test result, negative. For a few seconds, no one said a word. Then I burst into laughter. I couldn't hold it. The sound of my laughter filled the hospital reception. Benita's face changed immediately. Her mouth hung open in shock. "What did you just say?" Benita shouted. "That can't be true." Jackson raised the paper again. "It's written here clearly, Benita. You are not pregnant." He handed her the paper, and she grabbed it like someone in a dream. Her hands were shaking as she read it. "No, this is a lie," she screamed. She turned to the lab technician angrily. "What nonsense is this? Is this what I paid you for?" Before anyone could stop her, she rushed to him and grabbed his shirt. Everyone around turned to look at us. "You betrayed me," she shouted, shaking him angrily. The technician tried to pull away, but Benita was not letting go. "You think I'm joking?" she shouted. "I paid you to do a job and you failed," she said. I smiled and folded my arms, watching the drama like a movie. Jackson looked at her in disbelief. "You paid him? You bribed someone to lie that you're pregnant?" my husband asked. The technician finally freed himself and shouted back, "Madam, leave me alone. I can't lie. I can't risk my job because of your evil plan. You think everyone can be bought." The whole place went quiet again. Benita stood there breathing heavily, her eyes red with anger. I could see the shame written all over her face. She turned to Jackson, trying to talk, but he shut her up. "Don't say anything," he said. "You've done enough damage already. You tried to destroy my home. You brought shame to yourself." Then he turned to me and slowly knelt down right there in front of everyone. "Bella, I am sorry. I am so sorry for everything. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please forgive me," my husband said. I felt tears gather in my eyes. I didn't expect him to kneel in public, but it touched me deeply. I walked to him and lifted him up gently. "It's okay," I said. "I already forgave you long ago. Let's forget the past. I'm just glad the truth is out now." He held me close, and for the first time in weeks, I felt peace return to my heart. Everyone around was watching, and some even smiled. I turned to Benita, who was still holding the test paper tightly. Her face was pale like someone who had seen a ghost. "Benita, you failed. You wanted to destroy my home, but you failed. You thought you could lie and win, but you didn't know I was watching you all along," I said. She looked at me and didn't say a word. Her lips trembled. Jackson walked to the car, opened the boot, and brought out her bags. He dropped them on the ground beside her. "Take your things. And don't you ever set foot in my house again. I made a terrible mistake letting you in once. It will never happen again," my husband said. Benita burst into tears. "Please, Jackson, don't do this to me," she begged. "I love you. I did everything because I love you." Jackson turned to her. "Love? You call this love? You call destroying my marriage love? You're evil, Benita. You don't love anyone but yourself," Jackson said. She fell to her knees, crying louder, but he didn't even look back. He held my hand and led me to the car. The technician stood quietly, watching everything. I smiled at him briefly, and he nodded like someone who knew the truth had finally won. We entered the car, and Jackson started the engine. Through the window, I could still see Benita kneeling on the hospital floor, holding her bags, crying uncontrollably. I felt pity for her for a moment, but then I remembered all her wicked plans. She deserved it. As Jackson drove off, he kept saying, "I'll never forgive myself for bringing that woman into our lives." "It's okay," I said. "What matters is that we are together, and our home is safe." When we got home, the house felt peaceful again. It was as if a dark cloud had been lifted. I went straight to the kitchen and made food for us. As we sat together to eat, Jackson looked at me and said, "You are a strong woman, Bella. I don't deserve you." "Let's just thank God it's over," I said. He nodded. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. Benita's lies had failed. Her evil had been exposed. And finally, my home was whole again. I refused to lose my husband because he made one mistake. I held my baby closely as we all celebrated the victory over Benita. The next morning, sunlight poured through the curtains like a promise kept. I stirred awake, Jackson's arm draped protectively over me, our baby cooing softly in the crib nearby. For the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy with secrets. I slipped out of bed, humming as I prepared breakfast, the scent of fresh coffee and pancakes filling the house with warmth. Jackson joined me in the kitchen, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. "Good morning, my queen," he whispered, kissing my neck. We laughed about nothing, the kind of easy joy that had been stolen from us for too long. Our little family felt unbreakable. Then the doorbell rang, sharp, insistent, like a crack in our perfect dawn. Jackson frowned and went to answer it. I followed, curiosity mixing with a faint unease I couldn't place. Standing on the porch was a courier, holding a small, unmarked envelope. "Delivery for Bella," he said flatly, thrusting it into my hands before turning away. Jackson peered over my shoulder as I tore it open. Inside was a single photograph, Benita, disheveled and tear-streaked, but her eyes burned with something darker than defeat. Scrolled on the back in frantic red ink, "This isn't over. I know your secret too, Bella. And I'm coming for what's mine." My blood ran cold. Jackson's face paled as he read it. The baby's cry echoed from upstairs, sudden and piercing. What secret? And how could Benita possibly know? Watch out for part 2 and don't forget to subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you won't miss when it drops.